Star Wars 7 by 7 episode 500. Yes, indeed, 500 episodes, and we are celebrating with a surprise for you, the Star Wars The Force Awakens dialogue supercut. Yes, it is every single line of dialogue you've heard in the teasers and trailers and commercials and behind the scenes with Disney XD, all in one spot for you to enjoy. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey, this is Matt Moore from Comics with Kenobi, and you're listening to Star Wars 7 by 7, the only daily Star Wars podcast.
Hey, Rebel Rouser. Welcome to Star Wars 7 by 7. I'm your host, Lani Voivod, and my oh my, what an incredible journey it's been. 500 episodes, and 18 months ago, when we started planning the podcast in the first place, if you told me that we would reach 500 episodes, then I'd be sitting in our little studio here doing that. Well, the fact is I probably would have believed you, because that's what we set out to do. Me and Brainstormer Lani and Quizmaster Joe and Scorekeeper Declan, all of us agreed that if we were going to do this, we were in it for the long haul, and here we are. 500 episodes later, 16 months later from the start of the actual broadcasting, and I'm so grateful to you for being along for the ride. This wouldn't be possible without you listening, and I just want to say thank you today for being a part of this podcast and making it possible. We've been downloaded so far in 97 countries on 6 continents and a few other territories and possessions and whatnot. And that much, if you had told me 18 months ago that we would have been downloaded that far and wide, that I would have had trouble believing. I had no idea of the scope and scale that this podcast would reach. So thank you, and you, and you, and you, and all the thousands of you who've downloaded these podcasts. And yeah, it's 500 now, and it's kind of crazy to think that we got through 500 episodes without having a new movie released yet. We are still a month away from The Force Awakens, but by the time we hit 1,000 episodes on April 30th, 2017, we'll have had 2 movies, The Force Awakens and Rogue One, and we will be on the cusp of a 3rd movie with Episode 8 happening less than a month after we get to that 1,000th episode. Yes, we did the math. We counted the leap day as well, April 30th, 2017. Make sure that you stay with us and celebrate that 1,000th episode with us. I'd also like to thank a special group of supporters of the podcast, our patrons, and those are the folks who signed up at patreon.com/SW7X7 to support the podcast. Kevin Scarrett, Fred Butler, Diane Feely, Tim McMahon, Rich Bonomo, Dennis Keithley, Paul Lindbergh, John Burnett, Andrew Heating-Doan, David Vanderhoof, and Alex Chelberg. Thank you all so much for supporting the podcast throughout this run. You know, every time I talk about we on the podcast, and I've shared this story before, kind of speaking for the entire team here, Brainstormer Lani and Scorekeeper Declan and Quizmaster Joe, but really it comes down to me here day in and day out with you, doing the research, having fun, talking to you about all these crazy things going on in the Star Wars universe. And ultimately, what the patrons of the podcast are doing is supporting me in pursuing this incredible idea of creating a daily Star Wars podcast. We are listener supported here at the Star Wars 7 by 7 podcast, and if you've been enjoying it and you'd like to buy me a cup of tea for my time, or even the equivalent of a meal, then by all means come to the Patreon page at patreon.com/SW7X7 and join the rest of the folks that support this podcast and put their money where their earbuds are. And there are 2 last shout-outs I'd like to give. First of all, to Tim McMahon, who is a fellow podcaster who runs the Expanded Fandomverse podcast and who invited me to co-host the Expanded Comicverse podcast with him, who has been a tremendous supporter of ours here for a long time as a patron of the podcast, and is also the person who connected me with the other person I'm going to give a shout out to, and I'll tell you who that is in a moment, and also connected me with Albin Johnson, who is the founder of the 501st Legion, the Imperial costuming organization that is the premier Star Wars costuming organization, as well as a tremendous charitable organization that's raised millions upon millions to support children's charities. And Albin is actually going to be our interview guest tomorrow on the 501st episode of Star Wars 7 by 7. Seems only fitting. 501st episode, 501st Legion. You get the idea. So thank you, Tim, for everything you've done to support me and to support the podcast. And also, that other person that Tim introduced me to whom I want to give a shout out, is Matt Martin from Lucasfilm. Matt has graciously supported the podcast by helping us get onto the website. You can actually find us on StarWars.com in the community section with a bunch of other wonderful Star Wars podcasts. Met him in person at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, and he was just as nice as he had been on email, even nicer, I would say. And he was gracious enough to work us into the live stream. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, there had been a live stream happening from Star Wars Celebration that was being broadcast on StarWars.com with the help of Verizon Wireless to the entire world. And a bunch of podcasters were being interviewed, and he worked us into that queue and got us also on the live stream too. So, Matt, thank you so much for the help that you have provided, just of your own sheer kindness and generosity in helping Star Wars 7 by 7 get introduced to the Star Wars community. I'm very grateful to you for that. All right, let's get to the dialogue supercut. What you're going to hear has been taken from teaser number 1, teaser number 2, the talking figures and helmets that were released on Force Friday, trailer number 1, the 3 television commercials that have come out so far. Actually, there have been 4, but one of them didn't have any dialogue in it. And the little behind-the-scenes snippets that showed up on Disney XD not too long ago. Now, most of the music in the background is going to be from those teasers and trailers and commercials themselves. When you hear the talking things from Force Friday, the Kylo Ren and the Finn and the Captain Phasma, you're going to hear a little music underneath that. That is a remix of Binary Sunset, a cue from John Williams' original score to Star Wars, aka A New Hope, but it is remixed into a song called Binary Suns by Coyote Kisses. It is the song that we usually have playing underneath the Star Wars Trivia Weekly Lightning Challenge. So enjoy the dialogue supercut.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it? The dark side. And the light.
The Force is strong in my family. My father has it. I have it. My sister has it. You have that power too.
Chewie, we're home.
Name's Ben, and I'm in charge now.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Is it true? You're just a scavenger.
We go back to Jakku, we die!
Don't be afraid.
Stay low and put up the shields!
I feel it too.
We need cover, quick!
You know what I've come for. That weapon is mine.
FN-2187! I don't know what to do!
Don't fight it. You know you can't.
I never should have rescued you!
I'm immune to the light.
Listen, I've had a pretty messed up day.
Together, we will destroy the Resistance and the Last Jedi.
On my command. Fire FN-2187. Submit your blaster for inspection. Report to my division at once. Move to your ships now.
Who are you?
I'm no one. I was free.
raised to do one thing. But I've got nothing to fight for.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it. The dark side. A Jedi. They're real.
The Force. It's calling to you. Just let it in. Where do you come from? I know all about waiting. For my family.
I will fulfill our destiny. The Force.
Hope is not lost today. It is found.
I have lived long enough to see the same eyes in different people. I see your eyes. I know your eyes.
I'll show them the dark side.
I don't know your name.
Finn, what's yours?
I'm right.
You might need this.
You got company.
I can do this.
I can do this.
BB-8, hold on!
Follow me.
Get ready!
For what?
And there you have it, every line of dialogue released to date in order, roughly, because of course there was an exchange between Rey and Finn introducing themselves. It was a little shorter when it was first released, but longer when it was released later, so we used that one instead. And if you don't mind hanging around for a short break, we will have your trivia question for you in about 35 seconds. Hey Rebel Rouser, if you've got a business that you need to get in front of a bunch of Star Wars fans, then I've got an idea for you. I'm looking for a sponsor to get the entire Star Wars 7x7 team over to London for Star Wars Celebration Europe next July. And we get a ton of exposure when we do Star Wars Celebration podcasts. Not just the regular episodes, but the bonus stuff, and all the in-person stuff too, not to mention all the live streaming video we do. So if that's something of interest to you, then reach out via the contact form at sw7x7.com and let's talk. Alright, thanks for staying with us. Here's that trivia question for you.
This will be a day long remembered.
Ha! 500 episodes, I should hope so. Thanks for the note of congratulations, Vader, at least what passes for it, I guess, with you. Last time we asked you who had a brother named Deke in early drafts of Star Wars A New Hope, and that was Luke. Today's question, what was the seemingly relaxed Princess Leia doing when Luke opened the door of her prison cell? Thanks for listening to another episode of Star Wars 7x7. And hey, before you challenge a Jedi holding the high ground, check out sw7x7.com for show notes, links, photos, videos, and more. And if the show's been worth your time, please support us at patreon.com/sw7x7. It's not a triple amputation, it's Destiny Unleashed.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, and all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders.